struggle, that's just how it go. Don't get caught up in them lights, they only shine for gold. Like a lot of chores, niggas ain't got time to fold. But when the good brother moves, I know it's time to go. Then off the phone with Vaughn, he booked another session. Grateful for this life, I know the Lord has blessed me. Feel like the mic is infinite to my approach. Only thing standing between is death and time patrol. Feel like in my past life I was the GOAT. Goes to show, have faith and you put your music coast to coast.
Well, here's a bit of an enlightened place. Here is definitely an enlightened place. Look, the top meal on the breakfast menu is vegan. Can you see that, folks? Can you believe that? Please check out my Vegan Master Chef channel for some really good vegan recipes. Isn't that amazing? The top meal is vegan. And here's something even more amazing. Look. Flat Earth soft drinks. Ginger beer, passion fruit, dragon fruit, lovely. Apple, pear, cranberry. Look at that. And ginger, turmeric, and lime. They've got turmeric here. There you go. We asked them to have turmeric drinks, and they weren't sure, but they've got the turmeric there. So there you go. That's sort of spreading a different sort of message, isn't it now? Isn't that interesting logo?
Yes, they never stop talking about this one. This one, of course, gets people agitated in many ways. But we often talk about Zayin, the mind weapon, number 7. If we add these things up here, we see we get 10 to the 2035 and 6. 6 plus 1, of course. 6 plus 10, we have 7. 16 or 7, whatever you like, there it is, in your face, and it's a usual thing. And when you know that, you don't get fooled again. Sydney Beach, when the swell was on, very effective. Oh no, the water's coming up. At least 2,300. 23 in number, often attached with death. Because 24 is regeneration, the number after it. And of course the 60 is for the wa, which is water. So it's all in the little coding that they give us here. It's been going on for a while. And the other thing they like is 14, and we can see the 14 here with the 2020 2035. 9 plus 5, 14. Of course, 14, none, and it stands for the double 7. So time to put our money where our mouth is. Look at this nice little Photoshop of Antarctica. As usual. Same old same. These nice little engines here. But I talked to a guy who said he was in Antarctica and he went from base to base, and where it'd be much faster to go by the map across land, he said they flew on ocean. And the excuse given was they never fly inland. Well, some people do. Old Dickie Bird did, didn't he? What's going on there? Nothing adds up with anything that these people say, of course. It's just how it is. And most people are never going to see this. And anyone who tries to get any good information out, of course, in this world, unfortunately, is met with censorship. Not much we can do. I guess you could say to your local so-called member of parliament, hey mate, you know, when are you going to end the censorship? And here we have the 7 and the 12 for the 21777. They love their 7, that is for sure. Look, between 0.7 straight there in your face. So many things have this 7 in them, and most people refuse to cover this in videos. They carry on about all sorts of things, but very few channels have ever covered the 7, and that is very telling because it gives people ability to see through these things so easily. And tremendous Australia, you're helping with the Mars rover project here. NASA deal may see Australian company build the Mars rover, and typical in Australia, people find a lot of use for these elbows, I tell you. They use them to build bamboo octagons and all sorts of stuff. One of the things that people often find in their little junk drawer, and they figure out something you can do with a plastic elbow. Well, here, great on Mars they would be, wouldn't they? According to all the ideas of pressure and temperature that they give us, and then they give us a plastic right here, and a plastic bag here, and a little glass thing here, nice little openings here. Does this seem right to you? Would that be any way plausible? Because nothing is plausible about space. And Gilmore, it's an interesting name. The gill again, always the gill, more gill. Now about the gill, the gal, the galley priests. So this is the Gilmore, galley priest, more space technologies. Here's that picture of Mars, which looks nothing like the real Mars when you look in a telescope. And that should be blatantly obvious to people. But unfortunately, again, that sort of information doesn't get out. And people are willing to accept it. I sent that picture of Trump with the Saudi Arabia guy, Mr. ISIS, Mr. CC, to a few friends who have doubted me in the past. And I noticed I haven't got back with anything like, well, that is interesting, I must admit. Just when I told them now, is it this way? Is Groening some sort of prophet that can see ahead? Or is it a scripted reality? I'll leave that with you. I believe it's a scripted reality. And thank you to Keith there. He sent a donation of $5 to my PayPal. I'm going to go and have a hot chocolate tomorrow and celebrate the month here on YouTube, which I haven't done a lot of videos because the news, every time I looked at it, it was just criminal. And I couldn't see much that was really, hasn't been covered before. Anyone who's watched a lot of my stuff would be well aware now of how bad it is in the news. This here, like a 3, a 7 even. Always got to look for their embedding they do on a lot of these things. Very strange here. It looks a bit like the Asian landmass, India, China, with Siberia, Norway. This Europe looks a bit funny. But definitely go and look at Mars yourself through a telescope and you'll see it flashing and flickering. Never stable like this. I tell you now, it cannot be anything like they say. And all those things in the sky look the same distance to me. And they've told us different. But you know what they're like. All their telescopes in space, but they never have a good picture of Earth, do they? Yet friends of mine accept this stuff. They don't care. They just worship NASA. Started, of course, by Jack Parsons, who was some sort of devotee of the Crowley. You know, that Crowley business everywhere. And, of course, all that's fakery too. Conjuring demons, you know, makes people believe they exist. And then, of course, they might run to one of those fundamentalist preachers and throw him money and become part of the flock over the sheep behind those sort of people like Pat Robinson. And then there's other weird ones like Farrakhan, somewhere in between Muslim and Christian and a bit of this and a bit of that all patched together. But definitely Boule Society. If you don't know what Boule is, you better look it up. Alright, thanks again Keith there, that was much appreciated. Every little bit goes towards me making better videos here, and I will attempt to power on. I had a little thing recently where I was selling my plants from a place and it all went to shit. The guy running it was just terrible to me, and I don't want to go into it, but you know, some people, he unfortunately affected by substance abuse, that's the best way I can say it, and he's dragged a friend of mine, a long-time friend of mine, down too, so it's been very sad for me to watch, so I don't see them anymore, and I lost quite a bit of stock involved in it really. I just couldn't be bothered, it's just not worth it, but we'll power on anyway and find new opportunities somewhere in this 4x2 run Australia where the goy just have to struggle in struggle town. That's just the way I look at it. And rain all day today, like the heaviest rain you've ever seen. But that, of course, makes everything grow, and the birds are singing at the moment, so that's a beautiful thing. Cheers, everyone, and I'll put up a video tomorrow when I go and look through a lot of different things I've been looking at. Sort of put it together in one package.
Now, I had an interesting comment on my last video suggesting that Donald Trump is in fact Elvis. And the age difference does worry me, and I will show you some interviews with Donald in 1982. Remember, I've been talking about 1982. Funny enough how I came across the Smithsonian institution idea, and I just showed that because I thought it was rather strange. And here we have Graceland 7. Listen to what this guy says. Paul McLeod.
Creation 2 is a Smith-owned institute of levels of non-human rules based on the code of national monument and Taj Mahal levels off. Elvis not looked as good, never has looked real.
He claims to be the biggest Elvis fan in the world, the solar system, the galaxy, and even the universe. So for 48 years, Paul McLeod has obsessively collected Elvis stuff.
Paul McLeod sounds a lot like Elvis. The plot thickens, and he certainly has a better age look about him. What an interesting character, and I knew that I was going to find Elvis or Presley McLeod, whatever. There is even a thing, Aaron Presley McLeod, that I saw there. It is a very, very strange idea, Trump, McLeod, and Elvis. So where is Elvis McLeod? And look, there is a similarity there, you'd have to admit. And a similarity to Donald. I mean, Donald does look like Elvis, there's no doubt about it. There's something in the nose and the eyes and stuff. And actually, I'm thinking of Dennis Wilson when I look at this one. Not Dennis Wilson, but Brian Wilson. I didn't show how there's something about Dennis Wilson. There's something about Dennis's in general. I had Dennis Weaver, of course, there. But where is Elvis McLeod? So it's really going to take a bit more looking at. Just in a few books, though, I found quite some amazing things, as you can see here, indeed.
I think Donald Trump is an artful liar. I mean,
that is certainly an Elvis look, but he just looks too young. I mean, this is 1980s. Elvis was hoaxed out there in 1977. And I'm not believing all the fat bit, of course, that, as we know with Michael Jackson clips that can be easily added. But the age just doesn't matter, doesn't it? It just looks a bit young. But then, maybe you should say part of the Petri dish, and that's what people are honing in on. I'm not sure. CW made that comment. He sent me a couple of videos, but they're not good enough. There's no one really pulling it apart and showing me anything there. I'd like to see something, definitely. So if you have something more to send, please do send it on. But certainly I thank you for the comment, because it's certainly a strange brew here, as I said, with this idea of McLeod, Trump, and Elvis.
he is a greedy, vicious, and arrogant man. Well, I don't know, is that supposed to be a compliment or not? I'm not sure.
He waged a years-long battle with New York City Mayor Ed Koch.
I hope that New York City has a different mayor at some point, because I think that Koch is a total disaster.
You know, the Koch, there's a guy presenting morning television here for years with the same name, and then of course we have the brothers Koch over there in Colorado. Another strange idea altogether.
He helped launch a competitor to the NFL called the U.S. Football League, and then launched a lawsuit against the NFL when the USFL failed.
You sure?
But Donald Trump wouldn't treat with blushing.
Probably it's the greatest thing that the city ever did, and I think the city is the first to acknowledge it. They went overboard. They gave a tremendous break for the first time, actually, in the history of New York. We got this commercial tax abatement. We took a building that had one person working. We now employ 2,000 people, and we employed during peak construction periods over 4,000 people. So this.
Yes, 1, 4, and 2 for our 7, of course. Yes, Holy Springs, with a canned heat-esque up-tempo blues song about G2, 777. Another one to G2 there again. What's interesting here now, I just mentioned Brian Wilson. Isn't this interesting now when I come down here? Jay Leno, he's got the look too, hasn't he? I see his name mentioned. Look, Brian Wilson. This is a very, very strange story indeed. So certainly needs a lot more looking at, and hopefully people out there in the audience will have a look at this for me and they might come up with a few ideas. Oh, I tell you what, Elvis has left the building, eh? He knew that it was a never-ending gift, just the same as the Beatles. And here it is, strange things. And funny I mentioned the Beach Boys. So here they are talking about the idea anyway. Yes, and look at this here. Look what happens to be the ad here. King. That's Kings, isn't it, always? Yes, a very strange story here too. As we come to expect. There you go, the McLeod name and the Elvis name, totally connected.
Well, critical BS. Please spread far and wide. Spread that BS. Oh, God, they love the BS. Listen to this for some BS. I'm laughing my head off. I just have to show you this for comedy value. But it's not funny because so many people will bite on these things, even though anyone who's watched the better work that's been done on YouTube over the past, near decade now, would know that JFK, the assassination idea, was just a media play. Now this guy, all these years later, is saying how Herbert Walker Bush did it.
He pled guilty to these charges in order to avoid a military tribunal, which would have included several acts of treason, the greatest of these being the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Oh, look at that serious concern we have here. Well, this guy here, this channel, related to Joanne Steen. He's got his own channel here, Man of Changes. And Joe Steen is